What's going on, family? It's your boy Joe, and welcome again to the Mailroom. All right, so family, I know that we've been talking a lot about how kind of hectic and just interesting 2020 has been. For me, when things kind of get hectic like that, or when things are kind of just way out of place, I like to kind of default back to, like, I call them my old vacation Bible school or Sunday school stories. One of my favorite stories of all time is the Good Shepherd, the 23rd Psalm. Part of the reason why is because it kind of goes through like the whole gamut of life. I love how it starts, and for those of you who are familiar with it, I know that you're going to know that this is and everything like that, but for everybody else, I'll try to see if I can make sure I kind of piece it together. It starts off and says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake." I mean, we're sounding like we have a great journey going on here. Then it gets to verse 4 and it says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." And it's like, whoa, wait a second. Where did that come from? We were just having green pastures and we're skipping through fields, and all of a sudden now we're in the valley of the shadow of death. And what that does is it reminds me is that sometimes there are going to be times that just happen, and it's not because of not being within the will of God, but sometimes there's just some chaotic things that happen in our lives. But the good thing about how verse 4 ends is it says, "But thou art with me." And so that gives me the reassurance that even though there's some things that just come way out of nowhere, I mean, like there's no 3A that says like, well, while I was in the, in the pastures, I saw a wolf from a long ways off. No, it just goes straight to valley of the shadow of death. So, I mean, we have to have some assurance there. And what my assurance does come from is that it does say that you are with me, and I can count on that. Now, one of the things I also have to look at about this is that I kind of always try to look at things from how I kind of play in it. And if the way I look at it is like this, like the literal part of it. In verse 1 through 3, he leads, he guides, he restores. The only thing I do is shall not want. That means I ain't doing anything. But in verse 4, the first time I do something, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And I don't know about y'all. I mean, this is just me. This is just Joe. But a lot of times, God is leading and God is guiding and everything is going great. But as soon as I make a decision, and as soon as I start walking, I'm in the valley of the shadow of death. But again, I still have that assurance that, that thou art with me. And then like the next verse, this is kind of really applicable to me. It says, "Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with how shepherds walk and how they roll, that rod is not like, hey, that rod is like when the sheep kind of get out of line, they kind of tap them a little bit. And that staff is like sheep are not incredibly intelligent individuals, and they're not great creatures in that way. I mean, they will walk off of a cliff. So the staff is meant so that you can just reach out and hook them and keep them from themselves. And that's me a lot of times. That rod, that staff, they call it comfort, but all y'all that are from the South, they understand that sometimes here in the South, they talk about spare the rod, spoil the child. I got a lot of Southern comfort, some rod comfort, you know what I'm saying? But that was good for me, because if not, left to my own devices, just like sheep, I would walk straight into the valley of the shadow of death. But I could fear no evil, because you are with me. That rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And then because I've gone through the valley now and I've made some enemies, you even say that now that I've kind of gotten in line, I will prepare a table before you in the presence of those enemies. The enemies that sometimes I created by the decisions that I made. He anoints my head with oil, my cup runneth over, and now surely I have goodness and mercy that follows me all the days of my life. That's the great news about it. But I have to understand that there are some times that are going to be, chaotic. There are going to be some times that are going to be just full of calamity. Even though God has been guiding me through the pastures and leading me beside still waters. But I have this assurance, and I always try to make sure I kind of bring this into some kind of thing that we can all be encouraged by, is that whether or not we got there abruptly or whether or not we got there on our own by our own choices, we have the reassurance that God is faithful. He is with us. And even if he has to kind of hook us back in, he's going to prepare that table. He's going to anoint us. He's still going to use us. We still have purpose. And we're going to still be able to walk with him with goodness and with mercy. That's good news for me today. And You know, I always say a lot of times, you know, that might not be all the way what's in the book, but it's still a word if you do want to receive it. And I hope that that blesses you. As always, I just, you know, I hope that if this did bless you and you find some good use for this, you know, make sure you like this, make sure you share it, tag a friend that it might inspire or help. And then just, you know, make sure that if you have something you want to say, you know, say it in the comments. You know, feel free to kind of like, you know, start a little bit of a dialogue about some things that you may actually get out of this message. Once again, my name is Joe. This is the Mailroom. I love you. I will see you soon. Enjoy your day. Be a blessing to somebody today.